Connected to iPhone.
The 5 basic words to describe what needs to be done.
Yo, Larry, the other way of streaming. What other way? Oh, I always use my PlayStation to stream. What? Do you know another way that I'm not aware of? Hmm.
Connected to iPhone.
Mm.
As a result of having a false sense of identity, we act in a way that is inappropriate to our natural environment. And when that inappropriate way of action is magnified by a very powerful technology, we swiftly begin to see the results of a profound discord between man and nature. As is well known, we are now in the process of destroying our environment as a result of an attempt to conquer it and master it. Our environment is not something other than ourselves. In assuming that it is, we have made a great mistake and are now paying the price for it.
I don't know. When I started my stream just now, it had options for Twitch and Daily Motion. Or did it just say YouTube? Damn, that's kind of weird. Now you got me thinking. I swear, like, I started my stream up so fast. Did it say Twitch and Daily Motion this morning? I'm not sure. Oh, that's crazy. You can only see the stream if you following that person. So, how do you get new followers if they can't see your stream if they're not following you yet? That don't make any fucking sense either, Sony. Wait a minute. I have to follow you to see your stream. That's kind of weird. Like, so I won't get no new viewers because they're not my followers yet, and they can't. My stream won't pop up for them. That's odd. Did you go to this section of not live broadcast, but well, those don't they still have the section that says interactive broadcast? I mean, I don't really be paying attention. Like, I don't know, that menu is so old. Like, I haven't noticed any changes in the options. I know there's live broadcast, interactive broadcast, the top clips of the week, whatever's trending, and then you got your search button. But damn, only gamers now, so no interactive streams where people just chilling and sitting back and cutting the food and talking shit and building with people. If you're not playing video games, then nobody won't see your stream, because PlayStation is a gaming console, not a community console. And that's crazy. Like, cause I like to stream my games, but nobody don't watch me play video games. I know I suck at that shit, but I don't know. But when I stream my shit, nobody don't watch that shit. I think it's funny sometimes. Personally. What's up, Nia? Yeah, that's crazy, cause I don't know, like the streamers I follow, but well, that started to make me think now. But I do follow like a couple of artists, and I just haven't seen them on recently, and I don't know, but yeah, lately the other couple of guys, because I don't follow a lot of people. You gotta have a really good personality for me to follow you, because I do my own shit, and my personality is So if you ain't if you're not able to hold a fucking audience as well as I can, then I can't really watch that shit. But and I can barely do it. So you know what I'm saying? So it's not like you gotta be a great host or have like some really outstanding personality, but I thought like, alright, so everybody knows fucking Laura Croft to me. Yo, that motherfucker is funny as shit, yo. I watch this shit all the time, yo. And then the For Show, I watch them. You know what I'm saying? But there was the two girls who used to do art. Damn, I can't think of their names now. And then you had Punching Babies, and then the one other cat I follow, he played Battlefield all the time. This motherfucker play all the Battlefields, yo. I be watching his stream, and there are a couple of Asian dudes I follow who be playing games just because they be playing games like that you don't see over this shit, yo, that nobody else don't be playing. So I think that should be interesting. And I noticed a lot too. Like when I do try to watch a streamer lately, if I like I said, because I barely watch TV, man. If I'm not painting and I'm not playing video games, if I try to find something to watch, I'll go to the stream and just try to find some random people. Like I've been watching motherfuckers play Far Cry 5, the new Far Cry, cause that shit look tight. So I just watched. But I noticed like a lot of fucking Asians stream more than Americans now. Like my top couple of streams would be fucking some Japanese letters playing Fortnite, and then some Russian shit playing Fortnite, and then a bunch of more Japanese shit. And I be trying to look for an American stream so I can understand what the fuck you saying in the game. You know what I'm saying? But that shit be crazy. Like I don't know, even the top gamer streamers don't even be fucking American no more. Yeah, that's yeah. It only came back like yesterday or the day before yesterday when I noticed it, like just a few days ago, because the comment section been cut off for a minute. Now people saying the goddamn the stream is acting different. And when I turned my console on just now, it was like, do you wanna? You need to update your profile settings and all this shit. So whatever kind of little crazy ass patch they just put in that shit, then altered the normal state of things. That's yeah. I don't know. I remember when they took UStream down. So what did Sony just break ties with a lot of other shit? I don't know, man. I gotta read up on this shit now. Sony be doing some crazy shit. Yeah, this is my main platform. Like I got just my personal Facebook page. I probably have like 2,000 friends on there. Matter of fact, let me see. All right. But I find it odd because a lot of, I don't know, my art isn't as popular as most people think it is. Really. Oh, yeah, so my personal profile page has 2,095 friends. And my art page, has 2,125 followers. And, and my Instagram, has 32, 37 followers. But honestly, like, nobody watches my YouTube show. It's the weirdest shit, yo. Everybody who watches my YouTube, 97%. I can go to my logistics on my damn. Let me see. Oh, I think I deleted that app. But YouTube has a logistics app for streamers, and 97% of my YouTube streamers are from PlayStation, bro. Like, everybody who watches my show comes from PlayStation. That's all it is, streaming the dumb stuff. And you know what I'm saying, and like you streamed and turned into like some Jerry Springer porno type shit, and Sony had to break ties with that shit. And that's the whole thing, is like, it is the internet. It's the internet of things. There's sites for everything you want to do. Everything doesn't have to be some fucking stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? Everything, you don't have to change every networking platform into some fucking Jerry Springer porno shit. But that's the culture. That's Western culture. It's like, fuck up everything. I don't understand it. Sometimes it's just shit like that weirds me out. Like, but that's the culture we live in. Yeah, like Boozy said, if it wasn't for PlayStation, you wouldn't have found me. Like, nobody don't really watch my YouTube, man. Like I said, out of all the fucking over 3,000 followers on Instagram, and between my 2 Facebook pages, I got over 4,000 followers on that shit. And my main YouTube account has like 800 subscribers. Out of a couple thousand people, only like 800 people subscribe to that shit. Probably about 50% of that, 50% of the 800 watch it, on a, kind of regular basis. And then about 10%, well, probably less than that, like 5%, like my man Boozy is, who always come and chill and always come and fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Always come and hang out. Art in the dark. And there's just a couple guys who I feel like friends now. But for the most part, nobody don't watch this art and education shit, man. That's why I say y'all motherfuckers weird as shit, man. Y'all think I be playing, yo. Y'all as weird as I am. Cause y'all sit down and watch this shit. This motherfucker watches some dreadhead paint some pictures and shit. But I tell y'all some weird motherfuckers, bro. That's why nobody else don't get into this shit. Art and education? Nah. I can't do art and education. What y'all trying to be smart or something? Nah. These motherfuckers trying to be intellectuals.
As a result of having a false sense of identity, we act in a way that is inappropriate to our natural.
What do you say? All right.
Environment. And when that inappropriate way of action is magnified by a very powerful technology,
Yeah, my back hurting a little
we
bit.
swiftly begin to see.
I ain't gonna lie, yo. I benched 275 today for the first time, yo. 275 on the bar, and the thing about it, that shit was kind of easy. I ain't even bragging, yo. That shit was. I felt like, I don't know. I'm gonna give it a couple days, probably next week or something. I'm gonna try to put like like 305 on the bar. I think that'll be the next. All right, so 245 plates on each side. That's 225. And then the 25, that's 250. Then another 25, that's 275. And if I put a 10, that'll be 285. And then 295. So 245s and 235s is 295. Alright, I might try to do that instead of 305. Cause what, 305 would be 345 plates on each side. Yeah, that shit might be too heavy. I'm gonna shoot for 295 next time. But I had to ask somebody, because I work out by myself for the most part. That's why I never really try to lift heavy shit. But I just had to ask some random dude who was in there. I was like, yo, bro, you spot me real quick. He was like, yeah, I got you. And so he spot me one time, but he act like he was ready to get back in this shit, so I ain't hold him up. I would have tried to put that fucking extra 10 pounds on each side. I need to try to get my homeboy to go to the gym, man. That motherfucker won't be wanting to go no more, you know? Oh, yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that knowledge. If I get that fucking, by the end of December, if I get 305 on the bench, boy. Once I start doing, if I can bench that, if I can just like lift 305 as my max, because I can work out with 225 with no problem. I want to be able to like lift 305 and work out with like 250, and then I'll focus on my legs more. I do legs almost every day, but not like I know I should. Oh, you ain't seen my dank series? Dank. Double dank. Ooh, 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 ooh. Smoking on that dank. Ooh, it ain't nothing but that dank. This shit gonna be hot when all three of them done. I just gotta convince the art gallery to let me hang it in there. Dang. Oh shit! Oh damn! I thought that shit was coming out the screen at me. That VR shit, man. Damn. Ooh, 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 ooh. Nah, I got some words, certain words blocked. So there's certain comments that you can't make. I'm the only nigga who get to say niggas in here. Yeah. I manage my own hedge firm. Graduated college when I was 17. You know, got my bachelor's degree. But I still like to smoke dank. 'Cause dank helps me think. artists, you know what I'm saying, just chilling. Even the artists be smoking on that thing. None of the comments are showing. Well, how am I reading it? Huh? I can't see the comments. I gotta start stretching more. So I'm a my bad. Nah, man, when you were first showing it, the first time, you couldn't see the comments. Cause I already said that shit, but you couldn't see when I was saying it. I got you. Hey, man. Be right here. Be right there. It take me a minute sometimes, man, but you know what I'm saying? I get on it. You know what I'm saying? With lickety split.
The results of a profound discord between man and nature. As is well known, we are now in the process of destroying our environment as a result of an attempt to conquer it and master it. Our environment is not something other than ourselves. In assuming that it is, we have made a great mistake and are now paying the price for it. We have the strong sensation that our own being inside our skin is extremely different from the world outside our skin. That while there may be intelligence inside human skins, and while there may be values and loving feelings, outside the skin is a world of mechanical process which does not give a damn about any individual, and which is basically unintelligent.
Oh yeah. You gotta know the man.
It should be obvious
The man behind the paint.
that the human being goes with the rest of the universe. Even though we say in popular speech, I came into this world. Now, it is not true that you came into this world. You came out of it in the same way as a flower comes out of a plant or a fruit comes out of a tree. And as an apple tree apples, the solar system in which we live, and therefore the galaxy in which we live, and therefore the system of galaxies in which we live, that system peoples. And therefore people are an expression of its energy and of its nature. If people are intelligent, I suppose we have to grant that if, then the energy which people express must also be intelligent, because one does not gather figs from thistles and grapes from thorns. But it does not occur, you see, to the ordinary civilized person to regard himself or herself as an expression of the whole universe. It should be obvious that we cannot exist except in an environment of earth, air, water, and solar temperature. That all these things go with us and are as important to us, albeit outside our skins, as our internal organs, heart, stomach, brain, and so forth. You go with your environment in the same way as your head goes with the rest of your body. You do not find in nature faces arriving in the world sui generis. They go with a body. But also bodies do not arrive in a world which would be, for example, a plain ball of scrubbed rock floating without an atmosphere far away from a star. That will not grow bodies. There is no soil for bodies. There is no complexity of environment, which is body producing. So bodies go with a very complicated natural environment. And if the head goes with the body and the body goes with the environment, the body is as much an integral part of the environment as the head is part of the body. It is deceptive, of course, because the human being is not rooted to the ground like a tree. A human being moves about and therefore can shift from one environment to another. But these shifts are superficial. The basic environment of the planet remains a constant. We are not really aware of this. Upon taking thought and due consideration, it does occur to us, yes, indeed, we do need that environment. But in the ordinary way, we don't feel it. That is to say, we don't have a vivid sensation of belonging to our environment in the same way that we have a vivid sensation of being an ego inside a bag of skin, located mostly in the skull, about halfway between the ears and a little way behind the eyes. And it issues in these disastrous results of the ego, which, according to 19th century common sense, feels that it is a fluke in nature, and that if it does not fight nature, it will not be able to maintain its status as intelligent fluke. So the geneticists are now saying, and many others are now saying, that man must take the course of his evolution into his own hands. He can no longer trust the wiggly, random, and unintelligible processes of nature to develop him any further, but he must interfere with his own intelligence and through genetic alterations breed the kind of people who will be viable for human society, and that sort of thing. Now this, I submit, is a ghastly error, because human intelligence has a very serious limitation. It is a scanning system of conscious attention which is linear. That is to say, it examines the world in lines, rather as you would pass the beam of a flashlight across a room or a spotlight. That's why our education takes so long. It takes so long because we have to scan miles of lines of print. Now, the universe does not come at us in lines. It comes at us in a multidimensional continuum in which everything is happening all together everywhere at once. And it comes at us much too quickly to be translated into lines of print or of other information, however fast they may be scanned. And that is our limitation. The computer will greatly speed up linear scanning, but it's still linear scanning. And so long as we are stuck with that form of wisdom, we cannot deal with more than a few variables at once. But the practical problems of human life deal with variables in the hundreds of thousands. Here statistical methods are very poor, and thinking it out by linear consideration is impossible. With that equipment, then, we are proposing to interfere with our genes. And with that equipment also, be it said, we are trying to solve our political, economic, and social problems. And naturally, everybody has the sense of total frustration. And the individual feels, what on earth can I do? We do not seem to know a way of calling upon our brains, because our brains can handle an enormous number of variables that are not accessible to the process of conscious attention. is now handling your blood chemistry, the secretions from your glands, the behavior of millions of cells. It is doing all that without translating the processes it is handling into consciously reviewed words, symbols, or numbers. When I use the word thinking, I mean precisely that process, translating what is going on in nature into words, symbols, or numbers. But you cannot quench anybody's thirst with the word water, just as you cannot eat a dollar bill and derive nutrition. Using symbols and using conscious intelligence, scanning, has proved very useful to us. It has given us such technology as we have. But at the same time, it has proved too much of a good thing. At the same time, we've become so fascinated with it that we confuse the world as it is with the world as it is thought about, talked about, and figured about. That is to say, with the world as it is described. And the difference between these two is vast. And when we are not aware of ourselves, except in a symbolic way, we are not related to ourselves at all. We're like people eating menus instead of dinners. And that's why we all feel psychologically frustrated. So then we get back to the question of what do we mean by I? Well, first of all, obviously, we mean our symbol of ourselves. Ourselves, in this case, is the whole psychophysical organism, conscious and unconscious, plus its environment. That's your real self. Your real self, in other words, is the universe as centered on your organism. That's you. What you do is also a doing of your environment. Your behavior is its behavior as much as its behavior is your behavior. It's mutual. We could say it is transactional. You are not a puppet which your environment pushes around, nor is the environment a puppet which you push around. They go together. They act together. In the same way, for example, if I have a wheel, one side of it going down is the same as the other side of it going up. When you handle the steering wheel of a car, are you pulling it or are you pushing it? No, you're doing both, aren't you? When you pull it down this side, you're pushing it up that side. It's all one. So there's a push-pull between organism and environment. We are only rarely aware of this, as when in curious alterations of consciousness, which we call mystical experience, cosmic consciousness, an individual gets the feeling that everything that is happening is his own doing, or the opposite of that feeling, that he isn't doing anything, but that all his doings, his decisions and so forth, are happenings of nature. You can describe it in these two completely opposite ways, but you're talking about the same experience. You're talking about experiencing your own activity and the activity of nature as one single process. And you can describe it as if you were omnipotent like God, or as if it were completely deterministic and you hardly existed at all. But remember, both points of view are right. And we'll see where that gets us. But we don't feel that, do we, ordinarily? What we feel instead is an identification of ourselves with our idea of ourselves. Or I would rather say, with our image of ourselves. And that's the person, or the ego. You play a role. You identify with that role. I play a role. It's called Alan Watts. And I know very well that that's a big act. I can play some other roles besides Alan Watts if necessary. But I find that this one is better for making a living. But I assure you it's a mask and I don't take it seriously. You know, the idea of my being a kind of messiah or guru or savior of the world just breaks me up. Because I know me. So it's very difficult to be holy in the ordinary sense. So I know I'm not that. But most of us are taught to think that we are whom we are called. And when you're a little child, and you begin to learn a role, and your parents and your peers approve of your being that. They know who you are. You're predictable. So you can be controlled. But when you act out of role and you imitate some other child's behavior, everybody points the finger and says, you're not being true to yourself. Johnny, that's not you, that's Peter. And so you learn to stay Peter, or to stay Johnny. But of course, you're not either. Because this is just the image of you. It's as much of you as you can get into your conscious attention, which is precious little. Your image of yourself contains no information about how you structure your nervous system. It contains no information about your blood chemistry. It contains almost no information about the subtle influences of society upon your behavior. It does not include the basic assumptions of your culture, which are all taken for granted and unconscious. And you can't find them out unless you study other cultures to see how their basic assumptions differ. It includes all kinds of illusions that you're completely unaware of, as, for example, that time is real, and that there is such a thing as a past, which is pure hope. But nevertheless, all these things are unconscious in us, and they are not included in our image of ourselves, nor, of course, included in our image of ourselves is there any information about our inseparable relationships with the whole natural universe. So, this is a very impoverished image. When you ask a person, what did you do yesterday? They'll give you a historical account of a certain number of events in which they participated and a certain number of things which they saw, used, or were clobbered by. But realize at once that this history leaves out most of what happened. In trying to describe what happens to me this evening, will never be able to describe it, because there are so many people here that if I were to talk about everyone whom I've seen, what they were wearing, what color their hair was, what sort of expressions they had on their faces, I would have to talk till doomsday. So instead of this rich physical experience, which is very rich indeed, I have to attenuate it in memory and description, saying, oh, I met a lot of people in Philadelphia. And there were men and there were women, and lots of them were young and some of them were old. You know, it's the most utterly impoverished account of what went on. So therefore, in thinking of ourselves in this way, what I did yesterday, what I did the day before, in terms of this stringy, mangy account, all I have is a caricature of myself. And you know the caricaturist doesn't draw you all in, he just puts certain salient features whereby people will recognize you. A sort of skeleton. So we are, as it were, conceiving ourselves as a bunch of skeletons. And they got no flesh on them, just a bunch of bones. And no wonder we all feel inadequate. We're all looking for something, to the future, to bring us the goodie. We know we ought to have, there's a golden goodie at the end of the line somewhere. There's a good time coming, be it ever so far away, that one far-off divine event to which all creation moves. We hope. And therefore we say of something that's no good, it has no future. I would say it has no present. But everybody says it has no future. Now, here we are, as it were, psychically starved, and always therefore looking, seeking. And this confused seeking is going on everywhere. We don't know what we want. Nobody knows what they want. We say, yes, we think of what we want in vague terms. Pleasure, money, wealth, love, fulfillment, personal development, But we don't know what we mean by all that. If a person really sits down to figure out, write a long essay, 20 pages, on your idea of heaven, it'll be a sorry production. You can see it already in medieval art, whether it is depictions of heaven and hell. Hell is always much better than heaven. Although it's uncomfortable, it's a sadomasochistic orgy. Wow, hell is really rip-roaring. Whereas all the saints in heaven are sitting... very, very smug and demure, like they were in church. And you see also the multitudes of the saved. Instead of this writhing, wormy thing, you can see all their heads, which the artist has drawn to abbreviate them, just the tops of their heads in masses. They look like cobblestone street. Flattened out. So, what has happened then is this. That our eye is an illusion. It's an image. And it is no more ourself than an idol is the Godhead. But we say, it can't be so because I feel I really exist. It isn't just an idea in my head, it's a feeling. I feel me. Well, what is it that you feel when you feel I? What do you do when somebody says, pay attention? What is the difference between looking at something and taking a hard look at it? Or between hearing something and listening intently? What's the difference? What's the difference between waiting while something goes on and enduring it? Why? The difference is this, that when you pay attention, instead of just looking, you screw up your face, you frown, and stare. That is a muscular activity around here. When you will, you grit your teeth or clench your fists. When you endure or control yourself, you pull yourself together physically, and therefore you get uptight. You hold your breath. You do all kinds of muscular things to control the functioning of your nervous system. And none of them have the slightest effect on the proper operation of the nervous system. If you stare at things, you will rather fuzz the image than see them clearly. If you listen intently by concentrating on muscles round the ears, you will be so much attending to muscles here that you won't hear things properly. And you may get singing in the ears. If you tighten up with your body to pull yourself together, all you do is constrict yourself. I remember in school, I sat next to a boy who had great difficulty in learning to read. And what they always say to children is, try. If you can't do something, you must try. So the boy tries. And what has he done? When he's trying to get out words, he grunts and groans as if he were lifting weights. And the teacher's impressed. The boy is really trying. Gives him B for effort. All he's doing has nothing to do with it. Now, we all make this muscular straightening with the thought that it's achieving psychological results. The sort of psychological results it's intended to achieve. Now all this amounts to is like you're taking off in a jet plane. You've got a mile down the runway and the thing isn't up in the air yet. You get nervous. So you start pulling at your seatbelt. That's what it is. Now, that is a chronic feeling. We have it in us all the time, and it corresponds to the word I. That's what you feel when you say I. You feel that chronic tension. Because when an organ is working properly, you don't feel it. If you see your eye, you've got cataract. If you hear your ears, you've got singing in your ears, getting in the way of hearing. When you are fully functioning, you are unaware of the organ. When you're thinking clearly, your brain isn't getting in your way. Actually, of course, you are seeing your eyes in the sense that everything you see out in front of you is a condition in the optic nerves at the back of the skull. But you're not aware of the eye as the eye. I'm talking about the optical eye. So when we are aware of the ego I, we are aware of this chronic tension inside ourselves. And that's not us. It's a futile tension. So when we get the illusion, the image of ourselves, married to a futile tension, you've got an illusion married to a futility. And then you wonder why I can't do anything. Why I feel in the face of all the problems of the world impotent. And why I somehow cannot manage to transform I. Now here we get to the real problem. Because we're always telling each other that we should be different. Now I'm not going to tell you that tonight. Why not? Because I know you can't be. Nor can I. That may sound depressing, but I'll show you it isn't. It's very heartening. But everybody, you see, who is at all sensitive and awake to their own problems and human problems is trying to change himself. We know we can't change the world unless we change ourselves. If we're all individually selfish, we're going to be collectively selfish. If we don't really love people and only pretend to, somehow we've got to find a way to love. After all, it's said in the Bible, thou shalt love the Lord thy God and your neighbor as yourself. You must love. Yeah, we all agree. Sure. But we don't. In fact, one psychologist very smartly asked a patient, with whom are you in love against? And this particularly becomes appalling when we enter into the realm of higher things. Everybody these days is interested in spiritual development. And wisely, because we want to change our consciousness. Many people are well aware that this egocentric consciousness is a hallucination. They presume it's the function of religion to change it, because that's what the Zen Buddhists and yogis and all these people of the Orient are doing. They're changing their state of consciousness to get something called satori, or mystical experience, or nirvana, or moksha, or what have you. And everybody around here is really enthused about that, because you don't get that in church. I mean, there have been Christian mystics, but the church has been very quiet about them. But the average church, all you get is talk. Meditation, no spiritual discipline. They tell God what to do interminably, as if he didn't know. And then they tell the people what to do, as if they could or even wanted to. And then they sing religious nursery rhymes. And then, to cap it all, the Roman Catholic Church, which did at least have an unintelligible service, which was which was, you know, it was real mysterious and suggested vast magic going on. They went and put the thing into bad English. And they took away incense, and they became a bunch of Protestants, and the thing was just terrible. So now all these Catholics are at loose ends. As Claire Booth Luce put it, not to be a pun, but she said, you know, it's no longer possible to practice contemplative prayer at Mass. Because you're being advised, exhorted, edified all the time. And it becomes a bore. Think of God, listening to all those prayers. Talking about grieving the Holy Spirit. It's just awful. People have no consideration for God at all. But in pursuing these spiritual disciplines, yoga and Zen and so forth, and also psychotherapy, there comes up a big difficulty. And the big difficulty is this. I want to find a method whereby I can change my consciousness. But therefore to improve myself. But the self that needs to be improved is the one that is doing the improving. And so I'm rather stuck. I find out the reason that I think I believe, say, in God, is that I sure hope that somehow God will rescue me. In other words, I want to hang on to my own existence. And I feel rather shaky about doing that for myself, but I just hope there's a God who will take care of it. Or, if I could be loving, I would have a better opinion of myself. I'd feel better about it. I could face myself, as people say, if I were more loving. So the unloving me, somehow, by some gimmickry, has to turn itself into a loving me, and this is just like trying to lift yourself off the ground with your own bootstraps. It can't be done. And that's why religion, in practice, mainly produces hypocrisy and guilt, because of the constant failure of these enterprises. go and study Zen, and they come back and say, wow, getting rid of your ego is a superhuman task. I assure you it's going to be very, very difficult to get rid of your ego. You're going to have to sit for a long time, and you're going to get the sorest legs. Hard work. And all you wretched kids who think you're getting rid of your ego on pod or something or other, easy yoga, you don't know what you're in for when it really comes down to the nitty-gritty. You know, the biggest ego trip going is getting rid of your ego. And the joke of it all is your ego doesn't exist. There's nothing to get rid of. It's an illusion, as I tried to explain. But you still want to ask how to stop the illusion. Well, who's asking? I mean, do you think, in the ordinary sense in which you use the word I, how can I stop identifying myself with the wrong me? Well, the answer is simply you can't. Now, the Christians put this in their way when they say that mystical experience is a gift of divine grace. Man, as such, cannot achieve this experience. It is a gift of God, and if God doesn't give it to you, there's no way of getting it. Now that is solidly true. You can't do anything about it because you don't exist. That's pretty depressing news. But the whole point is it isn't depressing news. It is the joyous news. There's a Zen poem which puts it like this, talking about it. It means the mystical experience, Satori, the realization that you are the eternal energy of the universe, like Jesus did. It says like this, you cannot catch hold of it, nor can you get rid of it. In not being able to get it, you get it. When you speak, it's silent. When you are silent, it speaks. Now, in not being able to get it, you get it. Because this whole feeling, what Krishnamurti is trying to explain to people, for example, when he says, why do you ask for a method? There is no method. All methods are simply gimmicks for strengthening your ego. So how do we not do that? He says, you're still asking for a method. There is no method. If you really understand what your I is, you will see there is no method. He said, this is so sad. But it's not. This is the gospel, the good news. Because if you cannot achieve it, if you cannot transform yourself, that means that the main obstacle to mystical vision has collapsed. That was you. What happens? You can't do anything about it. You're at your wit's end. What are you going to do? Commit suicide? But supposing you just put that off for a little while. Wait and see what happens. You can't control your thoughts. You can't control your feelings, because there is no controller. You are your thoughts and your feelings. And they're running along, running along, running along. Just sit and watch them. Here they go. You're still breathing, aren't you? Still growing your hair? Are you doing that? Is breathing something that you do? Do you see, do you organize the operations of your eyes? Know exactly how to work those rods and cones in the retina? Do you do that? It's a happening. It happens. So you can feel all this happening. Your breathing is happening. Your thinking is happening. Your feeling is happening. You're hearing, you're seeing. The clouds are happening across the sky. The sky is happening blue. The sun is happening shining. There it is. All this happening. And may I introduce you? This is yourself. This begins to be a vision of who you really are. And that's the way you function. You function by happening, that is to say, by spontaneous occurrence. And this is not a state of affairs that you should realize. I cannot possibly preach it to you. Because the minute you start thinking, I should understand that, this is the stupid notion again of I should bring it about, when there is no you to bring it about. See, that's why I'm not preaching. You can only preach to egos. All I can do is to talk about what is. It amuses me to talk about what is because it's wonderful. I love it, and therefore I like to talk. If I get paid for it, then I make my living. And sensible people get paid for doing what they enjoy doing. So this is not, you see, this is the whole approach here is not to convert you, not to make you over, not to improve you, but for you to discover that if you really knew the way you are, things would be sane. But you see, you can't do that. You can't make that discovery because you're in your own way. So long as you think, I'm I. So long as that hallucination blocks it. And the hallucination disappears only in the realization of its own futility. When at last you see you can't do it. You cannot really control your own mind. See, when we try to control the mind, a lot of yoga teachers try to get you to control your own mind, mainly to prove to you that you can't do it. There's nothing, a fool who persists in his folly will become wise. So what they do is they speed up the folly. And so you get concentrating. And you can have a certain amount of superficial and initial success by a process commonly called self-hypnosis.
That might be, you might be
You
on
can think you're making progress.
There's some bong going on, they said.
And a good teacher will let you go along that way for a while until he really throws you with one. Why are you concentrating? See, Buddhism works this way. Buddha said, if you suffer because you desire, and your desires are either unattainable or always being disappointed or something. So, cut out desire. So those disciples went away and they stamped on desire, jumped on desire, cut the throat of desire, and threw out desire. But then they came back and Buddha said, but you're still desiring not to desire. They wondered how to get rid of that. So when you see that that's nonsense, there naturally comes over you a quietness. In seeing that you cannot control your mind, you realize there is no control. What you took to be the thinker of thoughts is just one of the thoughts. What you took to be the feeler of the feelings, which was that chronic muscular strain, is just one of the feelings. What you took to be the experiencer of experience is just part of the experience. So there isn't any thinker of thoughts, feeler of feelings. We get into that bind because we have a grammatical rule that verbs have to have subjects. And the funny thing about that is that verbs are processes and subjects are nouns, which are supposed to be things. How does a noun start a verb? How does a thing put a process into action? Obviously it can't. But we always insist that there is this subject called the knower. And without a knower, there can't be knowing. Well, that's just a grammatical rule. It isn't a rule of nature. In nature, there's just knowing. Like you're feeling it. I have to say you are feeling it, as if you were somehow different from the feeling. When I say I am feeling, what I mean is there is feeling here. When I say you are feeling, I mean there is feeling there. I have to say even there is feeling. What a cumbersome language we have. Chinese is easier. You don't have to put all that in. You can say things twice as fast in Chinese as you can in any other language. Well, anyway, when you come to see that you can do nothing, that the play of thought, of feeling, etc., just goes on by itself as a happening, then you are in a state which we will call meditation. And slowly, without being pushed, your thoughts will come to silence. That is to say, all the verbal, symbolic chatter going on in the skull. Don't try and get rid of it, because that will again produce the illusion that there's a controller. Just, it goes on, it goes on, it goes on, and finally it gets tired of itself and bored and stops. And so then there's a silence. And this is a deeper level of meditation. And in that silence, you suddenly begin to see the world as it is. And you don't see any past. You don't see any future. You can't find any material body, because material body is an idea. So is spiritual body. This is somebody's philosophical notions. See, reality isn't material. That's an idea. Reality isn't spiritual. That's an idea. Reality is... So, we find, if I've got to put it back into words, that we live in an eternal now. You've got all the time in the world, because you've got all the time there is, which is now. And you are this universe. This is therefore to say that the transformation of human consciousness through meditation is frustrated so long as we think of it in terms of something that I myself can bring about by some kind of wangle, by some sort of gimmick. Because you see, that leads to endless games of spiritual one-upmanship and of guru competitions, of my guru is more effective than your guru, my yoga's faster than your yoga, I'm more aware of myself than you are. All that can just fall away. And then we get this strange feeling that we have never had, except occasionally by accident. Some people get a glimpse that we are no longer this poor little stranger and afraid in a world it never made, but that you are this universe, and you are creating it at every moment, because you see it starts now. It didn't begin in the past. There was no past. See, if the universe began in the past, when that happened it was now. See, but it's still now. So cheer up. You can't blame anyone else for the kind of world you're in. And if you know, you see, that I, in the sense of the person, the front, the ego, it really doesn't exist, then it won't go to your head too badly if you wake up and discover that you're God.
The Egyptians don't have a monopoly on hieroglyphs, you know, because basically any kind of writing system where pictures represent words or syllables can be termed as a form of hieroglyph. Maybe one day bathroom stall graffiti will be recognized for its hieroglyphic status. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on examples from the dawn of civilization, from the ancient Greeks, and from the elusive builders of the Easter Island statues, as we take a look at the 7 most mysterious hieroglyphs. In at number 7, the oldest computer. In the 1960s, archaeologists working in western Iran excavated a series of small stone balls with hieroglyphic imagery on them. After a series of investigations into the objects using CT scanning and 3D modeling, we found that the spheres were over 5,000 years old. They were hollow, and that they also contained small geometric-shaped tokens within them. So what were they used for? Well, according to Christopher Woods of Chicago University, These small items may represent the world's oldest data collection system, with the undeciphered hieroglyphs on the outside representing either their purpose or the contents within. Only 150 intact versions of these spheres have ever been recovered, and understandably, museums are reluctant to go smashing them open for further analysis. Why wouldn't you let us smash things, you stupid museum jerks? But even more puzzling than this is the fact that similar spheres have also been found in Scotland, England, and Ireland. So what kind of information were these balls trying to convey? And will we ever be able to get inside these ancient Mesopotamian filing systems? At 6, the Dandalath Stone. In 2013, a Scottish farmer was minding his own business, plowing his field of haggis or whatever, when he accidentally came across a gigantic stone covered in carvings on two opposite sides. This stone is over 1.7 meters long and weighs more than a ton. And based on the Pictish symbols of an eagle, crescent, and notched rectangle, it leads us to believe it was carved by the ancient Picts, who inhabited Scotland between the 6th and 8th centuries. The Picts were strange and mysterious people who painted and tattooed their faces and bodies, with the Romans in particular being quite fearful of their imposing presence. The Picts regularly clashed with their fancy Italian adversaries, as well as fending off Viking invasions on a number of occasions. But by the 11th century, the Pictish identity had all but completely melded into the society that was constantly streaming from Ireland. So what other mysteries will the Dandalath Stone shed light on? Perhaps we'll find out, if we can decipher its message. At 5, the Tartaria Tablets. The Tartaria Tablets were found in 1961 on the site of a Neolithic village in Romania. And the reason these old bits of pottery might be important is because we could be looking at the oldest known form of writing in the world. The Tartarian hieroglyphs demonstrate a form of pictographic writing similar to that of the Sumerians, whose own form of writing was previously thought to be the oldest alongside Egyptian hieroglyphs. So of course we simply had to test these clay tablets to find out if they were the winner chicken dinner. But unfortunately, there was a problem. When the tablets were unearthed, they were found in a raw clay form. So workers at the Romanian Museum in Cluj-Napoca decided to bake them. This meant that we could never use the carbon-14 dating method to date them directly. However, a subsequent attempt at radiocarbon dating by a different method pegged them as having originated over 7,500 years ago, in 5500 BC. If this proves true, then Balkan Europe may have been home to a previously undocumented civilization to rival the cradle of life in Sumeria. Or it could just be a load of goat drawings and not an actual language at all. We're just not quite sure. Number 4, the Phaistos Disc. If the Tartaria tablets prove to have been falsely dated, or they're just a bunch of random scribbles, then the honor of creating Europe's first written language goes to the Minoan people. As the first literate culture in Europe, the Minoans used a mixture of Cretan hieroglyphs, as well as Linear A and Linear B writing systems, and out of these, only Linear B has ever been deciphered. The Phaistos disc is thought to represent our best chance at deciphering Linear A, but this large clay plate has been in our possession for over 100 years, and we've still not figured out its secrets, as it seems unrelated to any other language we know. And we really want to solve this mystery really bad, because the Minoans were a fascinating civilization who randomly disappeared at 1450 BC, and whose home island may have been the inspiration for Atlantis, and was definitely the inspiration for the story of the Minotaur. So come on, ancient Minoans, give up your secrets. At 3, Rongo Rongo. Rongo Rongo is a style of hieroglyphic writing practiced by the Rapa Nui people of Easter Island. But despite numerous attempts, we've never been able to decipher the lost language of this mysterious civilization. The Rapa Nui are famous for their construction of the Easter Island heads between...
I ain't even gonna lie, y'all. I ain't been to the gym in like 4 or 5 days. And then I don't think I stretched enough this morning. And I lift heavy, and now my back is hurting. Oh, shit. It's like every time I stand up. Guys, I think I might go sit on the heat pad for a minute. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's tender. Whoa. Yeah, let me get my old ass out of here. I gotta go baby this shit. I know I shouldn't have did that shit this morning. I thought about it too. I was like, I'll just do some normal workouts for 2 days and then try to max out. Nah, this motherfucker won't go there and do it the first day back in the gym after not being in there for 4 days. Oh, shit. Oh my damn. Alright guys, so I think because I still haven't decided on the colors I want yet. So I think working on the background is going to be some of the last things I do. And plus I still got to figure out a picture to paint on this canvas right here. So I'm just work on the clothing and everything around the canvas, and then hopefully today or tomorrow I can just really sit down and see which colors I think I'm going to put on the backgrounds of these canvases, because it's a lot of negative space, so these things are going to go kind of fast, I hope. Alright guys, peace till next time.